Assalamu alaikum friends and welcome back to the course. In the previous video, we created our first unit test to check and verify the behavior of the prayer time calculator, but we said we are not ready yet to start refactoring because of two things. First, it is actually a mistake in the code in the test, right? Here we are using this date as you can see. Here it will create a date for now. So right now, at the moment of recording, we are recording on the 21st of September, but the tests will run today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow, right? And this prayer times are dependent on the date, so it will change from day to day. For that reason, our tests will break tomorrow and after tomorrow. So here we need to fix it. That's why we call them fixture, right? Here we are fixing the latitude, longitude, time zone, for example. But for other stuff, we need to fix them, all right? So here I'm going to provide, here there is something called the date. We can give it a long. I think we are going to refactor this to use local date because like most of the time, this is deprecated API, so you can use it. It's not deprecated in Java, but in the community, we are using local date, for example. Actually, in the date, you have many components, right? You have the month, year, and the day, and you have hour, minute, and second. What we care about most in this test is the date, actually, the days and the months. We don't care even about the year. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a helper functions that will help me generate dates for given days. So here is the first one, which is creating a Unix timestamp for the day and the month. We are creating a local date of, we have large parameters. I'm specifying the year, but this doesn't matter actually. What matters is this too. And then I'm creating the timestamp using this thing. This would work pretty fine unless you are in different time zone, of course. Here I'm using the UTC, right? Depends on you. I'm using this one and this won't break anything. So I'm trying to fix everything. So this will run also on the server side. For example, if you are doing some continuous integration and you are testing on every push, for example, on GitHub Action, for example, or something else, Jenkins or whatever, this will guarantee that it will work every time. And here I'm having another function, which is get calendar for, right? Because you need to create a calendar object with the date. So instead of me doing this thing, what I can do right now, I can create calendar for, and I can pass my own date. So here I'm using this function for 21/9, like this the moment, right? And here, like you need to change this one to epoch milli because epoch second won't work, right? But it was a mistake. And now if you run the test, I think it would work pretty fine. Exactly, it is working pretty fine. So this is the first mistake to solve. Now, like there are other mistakes, like you can do some refactoring for the code, but it is fine. We can maybe create a helper function for this one, provide good things like hiding this to array, but it's not a problem, right? The main problem is that if you think you are able to start refactoring after this one test, okay? Why it is a problem? Well, using this test, we are covering some part of the code, right? We are covering some part of the code, but we are not covering all the parts. For example, if you take this Julian date, we are checking if the month is like below 2, right? Here we are checking for the month of 9 of September, right? So we are not actually exercising this code. So if you change this code by mistake, I do plus here, and I rerun my test will keep passing because this branch is not executing. Even though I made a mistake, but my tests weren't able to notify me that I made a mistake. That's because my tests are not covering everything. So for that reason, what I need to do, I need to create more tests. This is what we call test coverage. We need to see if our tests are covering almost 100% if you are sure about that. Usually people exaggerate that 100% code coverage is unattainable, right? Well, this is pretty fine sometimes for production code when you are writing for the first time. But if you want to do refactoring for this kind of project, you need to have 100%. Otherwise, how do you know you are doing the things correctly? Luckily, we can reach 100% pretty easily. Okay, so you can run the tests, but with coverage. Here, what you are going to see is the following. Here I think we are covering 77% of the methods and 70% of the lines. This is pretty fine. This is pretty good starting. Now I'm going to write more tests, right? I'm going to show you the tests that I've written. So I won't waste your time by writing those tests. So I just write them and show them to you. So I just want to give you the idea that we need some higher coverage in order to have some sense of confidence that you can refactor this one easily. Like a lot of the methods here are basically guaranteed, exactly as I told you here. This isn't running. There are a lot of code isn't executing, for example. This one function. Now here is one thing. This function isn't called at all. Like as you can see, this convert calendar to Julian date. Like we are going to remove those methods that aren't used at all, but we are going to do them in a later video. But here I just want to emphasize the importance of test coverage. Most of the code here is not used. Like this one, we need to call them from the outside. this one set fudge angle. For example, this method is public, right? This is public and it is not used. We don't want to delete it because people may use it to set the fudge angle. As opposed to this function, for example, this function is private, right? But no one is using it. So it means we have to delete it later on, okay? And many other code that isn't used at all, right? Especially this setters and getters, like there are a lot of setters and getters aren't used. So for that reason, we are going to delete some of the methods in order to increase the coverage, right? And also are going to call those in the test. Now there is one thing, we need to write some unit tests, right? Because what we need to change this time format and check, because this one will imply a different behavior. We need to change the calculation method and this will change the assert heuristic and the higher latitude. And also we need to set some tuning. So all of this need to be changed. So as you can see, we need to provide all of these different values into our test so we can guarantee we are covering almost everything, right? So here is one critical thing. If you are going to do that, like how you are going to do that, you are going to copy that, call it 2, for example, and change here this 1 to 3, for example, and 1, and rerun the test. Of course, this won't pass. So what you are going to do, you are going to copy this times. This is the expected, this is the actual. We are going to copy this one and put it here and do that for all the times where you can print them and copy everything at once. But this will be a lot because there are a lot of parameter combination. And for that reason, we are going to use something called parameterized testing. And this, you are going to see it in the next video. So see you there. Salam alaikum.